Alrighty, so this is the We the People News. Alright, this is the final one, y'all. uh, anyway, the reason why I split all these up is just a simple fact that you can spend 10 minutes on this video and 10 minutes on the later one. But if you want to watch the whole thing without any type of interruptions whatsoever, you got to go to Rob Ryder. Alright, and it's capital R O B B B capital R YDER. Okay, so check him out if you want to check out more stuff of his, and it's a little bit shorter because he just cut out my stuff. All right, so let's proceed forward.
Talks about the joint service review activity. And while I'm starting here, I want to point this out. So that in this section, it says that a 3-member JSRA, Joint Service Review Activity, consisting of 1 judge advocate from each military department, shall advise the Deputy Undersecretary of Defense, for whatever TI stood for. The operations of this JSRA shall be coordinated by an administrative director who shall serve as recorder during the meeting of the JSRA, and that the address for correspondence with the JSRA concerning decisional documents issued by the DRBs shall be addressed as follows. The problem is they didn't put no address after that. There's, what address? There's no address there. And now I'm trying to find this JSRA, and I'm finding out they're really trying to hide this thing, and not, I've not found anywhere where they've ever said what the address is. It's just typical, bullshit. But this is in, page 34, this is in DOD Instruction Manual 1332.28, which is the instruction manual that's, has to do with discharge review boards. And so, if you're in the military, this is one that you'd want to know something about. This supposed to have this manual here. And that it says in here, well, you can either complain, you can fill out these forms and complain, and that's all okay, and that's covered under like enclosure 3 and enclosure 4. But when you get down to enclosure 5, well, this is going to be about complaints concerning decisional documents. And that there's, 2 ways to do it. Either you're a former member that's been discharged, or you're just a former member. And that one of the things it can do is it can take an inquiry, right? So you could do a complaint, that's one thing, or you could do an inquiry, which is another thing. But in either case, if you do it, they're supposed to log it into the system and get you an answer. And what I wanted to do is this inquiry where it says, so if I file an inquiry with the JSRA to the administrative director acting as the recorder, right, to put it in the system, that the administrative director shall assign a docket number to the inquiry. Well, now it's become official record. The administrative director shall forward the inquiry to the military department concerned. The military department shall prepare a response and provide the administrative director with a copy of the response. And the military department is going to start it this way, that this is a response to your inquiry to the Office of Deputy Undersecretary of Defense for Program Integration. Sir, if you can find out who that is so we can file this document, that would be so helpful. Right? I mean, exactly what the document will say may be yet to be determined. But I showed what I was trying to do in my last video. And that's good enough for today. So, sir, the last thing I want to add to this is I just found this morning, or actually last night, right? Under military awards. So, again, this is Army regulations. This is doing it by the book. Right? So let's see what the book says. Well, the book says that there's a thing called a lapel button for service. And it could be a World War I victory button, or it could be an honorable service lapel for World War II, or a lapel button for service prior to September 8th, 1939. But they have one that's called the Army lapel button. Now, the Army lapel button is a gratuitous issue item made up of gold-colored Minuteman on a red enamel disc, surrounded by 16-pointed gold rays with an upside diameter 9/16 of an inch. Right? That's the Army lapel button. Now, pay attention to what's going on, right? Here's where the smoke and mirrors comes in. Persons who have left the Army under honorable conditions are eligible to wear a U.S. Army lapel button. Well, that'd be the Army of the United States lapel button, right? But they call it U.S. Army. Commanders will present the U.S. U.S. Army lapel button to Army personnel at an appropriate ceremony before their termination of service prior to retirement eligibility. The U.S. Army lapel button, right? So we're not talking about this first one they talked about, this 1 minute man on gold animal. No, the U.S. Army lapel button is gold metal consisting of black background displaying a black star surmounted by a white star. Attached around the device is a gold-edged black circle, which is inscribed "Soldier for Life" below in ink, below in gold. Overall dimension is 7/8 of an inch diameter. Okay, so the Army lapel pin is 9/16 of an inch, and that's if you're still in and wearing civilian clothes, you can put that on. But if you were supposed to have been discharged, they're supposed to give you a U.S. Army lapel button. Right? Eligibility requirements. Right? Honorable discharge certificate. Well, I got one of those, so how come I don't have a lapel button? Right? And so this is for service after 1984. So I don't know, if it fits everybody. I'm just saying what it says. Right? That there's an Army lapel button and there is a U.S. Army lapel button. And I would have been authorized the U.S. Army lapel button. But if it's an award, it should be on my DD-214. Right? I got an Army service ribbon, an overseas service ribbon, and an Army good conduct medal. 2 awards. Nothing follows. I just got to piss a bunch of people in the military off. That's all I have, and I was an E6. I mean, E6 just over 5 years. I tell you, I got some special treatment. So I'm trying to pay back as best I can. Why did I get all this special treatment? Okay, well, because I'm supposed to know this shit at some point in the future. And with that said, sir, have you ever watched the movie Men Who Stare at Goats with George Clooney, who's playing an E8 in the military special services? Well, apparently he had the power to stare down a goat and kill him. And it's based on a true story. An E8 in the Army actually did that, but it damaged his heart when he did it. Symbiotic type of thing, all right? And so I have to laugh in this video because they're showing George staring at a cloud as he's driving, and the guy he's riding with, some reporter, says, well, what are you doing? He says, I'm practicing or whatever, and he stares at the cloud, and the cloud disappears. And about immediately after the cloud disappeared, he runs into the only rock in the freaking desert. And now the car's damaged, they get tumbled down into the desert, they're lost in the desert, they get picked up by terrorists or whoever got them, locals say, well, here's some money, right? We'll go turn it into money. And anyways, they go through all that, but they end up, at the end of the day, they end up where they're supposed to be. Right? It was all part of God's plan to get them where they were going. Right? So, but there was a time in the military where they were taking people and pulling them out and sending all sorts of special things to do. And, I got some of that somehow. I don't know, I don't really remember much of it. But, the reason I got it was the dude scored a 97% on his ASVAB test. And it wasn't a fluke, and so I hope you listen to me. Right? I mean, all this shit's true. I'm not making it up. I'm reading it off. You saw where it came from. But I'm just grabbing these little bits and pieces and trying to put it all together to, give us a better picture in this fog of war we're dealing with. On the 159th anniversary of Proclamation 104, suspended the writ of habeas corpus throughout the United States. Put us under martial law, sir. We've been there ever since. And the only way to get out of martial law so you can have elections is for the commander-in-chief to issue a special proclamation. So my question is, well, if the commander-in-chief dies, who's the commander-in-chief? Right, in a wartime situation. Because none of these people have taken the proper oath of office. So if we can ever fix that problem, which is, okay with me, well, then there's never going to be a Congress, and we're just going to stay under this wartime military government that's already supposed to be here, that the whole system is set up, to have, where the government is really just the military, and we go to the military whenever we have a problem. And now every veteran has become a window to go for their neighbors who's having a problem with some agency that's, trying to take their house or some other bullshit. They're acting like they're the government, but none of them have taken an oath of office. So, we have people impersonating public officers that are inflicting all this damage on the peaceful people of the United States. And the way to end it is to declare martial law, and to act like it is. Right? And some general write an order and clear this shit up. Until then, hey, I want my ID card. I want my pay. Because I was never discharged from the military. So somebody owes me some answers. They owe all veterans answers. Not just me, it's not every veteran. Got the same deal. So can we work together as, veterans at every pay grade and figure out who to talk to in the military to get this fixed? To our best interest, just based on what the documents that we have. Forget the election. Just get veterans taken care of first, then we'll go to the election. Because it's the proper order. You got to do the first thing first. You can't go to step 3 when you needed to do step 1. And again, if we're not going to enforce the very first law of our country, which said if you're going to be an officer or the Congress or whatever, the United States, under Article 6, you need to take this particular oath, and then make them take that particular oath, and say if you didn't, well, then you're not holding office. Well, we're never going to get out of this mess. All right, getting off my soapbox on that, sir. And
Papa, I have another
OL.com. There, my phone number, 616-71.
Alrighty, so sorry about the background. So didn't think about that, y'all. So even if this is remotely true or half true, people wondering why they're having such a hard time for veterans to get what is owed to them. Because technically, if this is true, they're still not veterans yet. And people should be outraged about this. Just saying, y'all. This is We the People News. Bye.